It's ready. Hi, my name is Summer Christie. My community project is about why don't all students do their work. I didn't do this topic just because I had to. I chose this because of my inspiration, my classmates. It was important to me that I do research on my classmates, but from the beginning, I was clear that this research was not about judging them. My classmates are my friends and I love them. But during the COVID-19, I saw struggle and stress at work. So I felt sorry for them and I wish I could do something. So when my class and I had to choose a topic, I chose one that tells us reasons why students aren't one with their work. In order to do that, I had to investigate. First, I had my own theories about why my classmates weren't doing their work. When we were remote during COVID, I saw the shining lights on their faces during class. So I knew they were using other devices during class, most likely watching funny videos, listening to music, or texting other people. When the teacher asked them to do something, there was silence and awkwardness, and most of the time, I had to break it by answering or interacting with the teachers. It was as if the teacher needed a high five and the other students didn't give them that high five. So I had to give them the high five so the teacher wouldn't feel alone. I needed to investigate beyond my own theories. First, I researched intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation. Like the famous detective Sherlock Holmes, who never solved cases for money or fame, that is extrinsic motivation. Curiosity always got the best of him, and he solved his cases because he wanted to and needed it for the satisfaction of knowing. This is called intrinsic motivation. Next, I focused on a video of Michael Jr., a comedian who explained that he doesn't just tell funny jokes, he has a heart to heart with his audience. He emphasized knowing your why and that it makes your what more clear and impactful because you are walking in or towards your purpose. It is like having a passion. Something worth doing is something worth doing. Something worth doing is worth doing well. I also looked at data by student engagement all over the country at different grade levels, which documented that student engagement goes down after fifth grade. And I looked at national student data about student obstacles to virtual learning during COVID, which documented that 64% of students experienced distractions during remote learning and 50% of students felt depressed or anxious during COVID. First, I did quantitative research. I made a student survey of all MYP and PYP 5 students about student engagement and work completion, so I used the questions that Miss Vanessa was going to use on another survey. I changed her questions a little bit. I created the survey on Google Forms. Students made recommendations to the teachers about what learning strategies teachers can use to get students to be more engaged and willing to complete their assignments. Then I made an MIP faculty survey. I asked similar questions to teachers by modifying the student survey to account for teachers' points of view. Teachers made recommendations to other teachers about strategies that work to get students more engaged. The next step in my investigation was to do qualitative research with in-depth interviews of the MYP3 class, my peers. I thought I would be interviewing each student for 15 to 20 minutes, but the interviews were more like 5 to 8 minutes. I felt like most of the interviews had a trustful environment. People put limits on what they could say, and I was totally fine with that. One question I asked was if they ever felt empty inside. I was really surprised that 87.5% of them said yes. I thought the things I experienced throughout my life were unique to me, but I learned that my classmates shared my feelings. Next, I decided to create a Google Slide presentation to report my research results and recommendations from the surveys and interviews to the faculty. I asked Mr. Mack to ask Dr. Reynolds if I could present to the faculty, but that date got changed 3 times. I worked for a total of 4 days to choose a theme, plan out my slideshow content, and chose visuals that would be interesting and kept the faculty audience engaged. I thought a presentation to the faculty would be enough and my project would be finished. The faculty presentation went okay. At first, you could hear how nervous I was in my voice, but as I went on, there were fewer butterflies in my stomach, and I got more comfortable in my presentation. I had never worked without a script before, but I learned to rely on the pictures and text on the slide to remind me what to say. But I was still somewhat afraid that I would trip over my words. Next, Miss Orkiki encouraged me to present my results to the MYP students. I didn't want to do that, but she insisted, and I actually felt my heartbeat go faster than ever before. I even cried a little. Nevertheless, Mr. Kiki scheduled 4 different presentations to her language and literature class. I was so nervous because my Google Slide presentation was created for faculty audience. I thought students wouldn't be interested in my presentation. I had 4 chances to try to improve my slide presentation when I gave it to the students. The first time I was nervous. I felt that my internet was stopping me from doing it. Also, I could see all the students' faces on the screen, and their faces spoke for them. The faces said, I don't want to hurt your feelings, but that wasn't a good presentation. I tripped over every word and I could hear the nervousness in my voice. However, I knew that if I messed up the first presentation, couldn't mess up the second one. The second presentation was really good. The third presentation was a little dip, but they liked it. The fourth presentation with my MYP3 classmates, I did really well because I has I had already practiced so much. After all 5 presentations of the results of my research on why students don't do their work, I asked Mr. Kiki to post a Padlet so that all MYP students and teachers could give me feedback about the results of my research and the design and presentation of the Google Slides show. I wanted that feedback so that I know how to do better in my next presentation. I thought the students gave really good feedback. MYP3 gave the best feedback, which makes sense because younger students are still learning and developing. I read all of them. I was happy with the feedback, but I feel like felt like if I had asked students to respond anonymously, that I would have gotten more honesty. But I felt encouraged. Through this journey and path, I have learned new things and stepped out of my comfort zone. I did the boring parts and the risky parts, but I'm glad that I went through it. I know that there are going to be harder things that I have to do in the future. The thing that keeps me going is knowing what the reward will be in the end. The reward for me will be knowing that I accomplished something different. Back to my classmates. I wanted to understand why they weren't all doing their work because I love them so much. They make me laugh every day by finding the problems in their life and turning them into something funny. I think I understand even better after doing the research, and I'm glad I didn't judge them. And I think that my teachers understand better also. Hopefully. Thank you to Mr. Mack who checked in to see if I was doing well through the long-term assignment. Thank you to Ms. Rokiki for helping me to calm down when I was nervous. Although you have a busy schedule, you would try to find time to connect in Google Meetings. Thank you to Miss Vanessa for giving me questions for my survey. This really helped on my first survey. Thank you to PYP5 and all NYP for responding to my survey and giving me feedback. All the MYP faculty for answering my survey and being my first audience. Thank you to my mom and dad. I'm the daughter of a person who worked really hard to become a nurse and study in the night and sometimes didn't get enough sleep. My mom motivates me. I look up to her. My dad is a chef who works really hard in the summer. I can even see the veins on his feet at the end of the day. Although he didn't get the education I did, I would say that he's a smart person. All of my MYP3 classmates, you are my inspiration. You make me laugh, and I'm grateful for the life I live in.